everyone.
Welcome back to Marvelous Videos. I'm Rylan, and this is 12 of the most disturbing The Boys anti-heroes who have done unspeakable deeds, explored. They tell you to never meet your heroes, but no one takes the saying seriously until they kill your girlfriend by literally running her over. In 2019, Amazon Prime Videos released The Boys, a show adapted from the comic of the same name, published by Dynamite Entertainment. The show has received massive adulation from the audience for its dark take on superhero culture. Imagine a world where superheroes are real and represented by evil corporations. It's the corporation that creates and stages crimes for the heroes to solve and capitalizes on their image to profit from. The superheroes in The Boys not only fight the bad guys, but also star in the movies about them. The show vastly differs from the comics, but it does take a lot of inspiration from the source material. Some of the characters have been given redemption arcs on the show, while their comic counterparts continue to remain evil. What remains common in both of them, however, is a rich variety of characters, who have complexity, depth, and a very realness. Most of the characters are satirical versions of popular superheroes from the DC and Marvel universes. In this world, the villains hide behind their superhero costumes, and good guys end up being tagged as criminals. The Boys explores dark humor that has never been done before. Speaking of these characters, today we're going to explore 12 anti-heroes from the show, and also the comics, who have surpassed villains in doing unspeakable things. Fair warning, this video contains a lot of spoilers from seasons 1 and 2. So with that, let's get started, shall we? Before we get into today's explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thanks. Now, let's begin. Number 1. Stormfront. Speaking of anti-heroes who have done unspeakable deeds, Stormfront probably surpasses Homelander in this regard, considering how long she's lived. She is a Nazi who went around killing people belonging to minority races. But Vought had to do what they do best. They rebranded her as Stormfront into a soup with a voice and capitalized upon it. She quickly became a crowd favorite and used her influence to encourage more people to use Compound V and turn into superheroes themselves. You would have thought that as a Nazi, she only hates the humans who don't belong to the purified Aryan race, but her hatred also extends to the people without superpowers. She wanted to create an army of blonde-haired, blue-eyed superheroes who would join the battle against the white genocide. She believes this threat to be true and tries to teach Homelander's son about the people who want to take him down because of the color of his skin. But her Nazi past doesn't bode well with the citizens once the Boys leak it to the press. While most of the other members of the Seven have a side that gives them a possibility of redemption, Stormfront seems to grow only more hateful over time. Once, she was actually married to Frederick Vought, and she was also one of the first successful test subjects of Compound V. The immortality that she gained as a superhero also made her a witness to the aging and death of everyone that she loved. After she gets fried and dismembered by Mini Homelander, she was mumbling in German about the good times that she spent with her family and the specific memory of her daughter eating an apple for the first time. Despite being a despicable character most of the time, she did genuinely love her daughter and her husband. If we were to make a list of some of the bad things that she's done, then other than being a Nazi of course, it would go something like this. Committed hate crimes against minority races when she was known as Liberty. She killed Kenji, attacked Kimiko, manipulated her followers, propagated genocide, and tried to kill Becca in front of her own son. It was not a wise decision to attack Becca in front of Ryan, as he is the first natural-born soup and has the same powers as his father. But she probably misjudged the intensity of those rays because of how Homelander lasers her bits. Even though Vought has kept her in a secured location, for now anyway, we are eagerly waiting for her to return in Season 3. Number 2. Homelander. If Superman was born on Earth and brought up in a lab, and somewhere along the way decided to become evil, well, he would be similar to what Homelander is. Speaking of being raised in a lab, one might feel compelled to compare the experience with Eleven from Stranger Things. Both of them have powers and were experimented on, as well as being observed by scientists. But Eleven did manage to get away from there, and found friends who taught her to distinguish right from wrong. Homelander, on the other hand, his whole past was fabricated. He never grew up with his family or went to a regular school. Growing up, he always felt like a lab rat, displayed in a zoo, and he would feel anxious around the people gathered to observe him. Never having received the comfort of being loved by a mother, he would often seek that out from his relationship with Madeline. He thought of her as a mother and a lover. After he learned that she hid the truth from him about having a son, he killed her. And whenever he misses her afterwards, he would call on Doppelganger to take her form and recreate past scenarios to indulge in activities one shouldn't engage with their mother figures. And that doesn't even top the list of the messed up things that he's done. While the public worships Homelander as the perfect superhero, Billy Butcher sees him for the vile being that he truly is. Once, he was a fan of the Seven, but his opinion changed the night that Homelander forced himself on his wife. When she disappeared after a few days, Butcher blamed Vogt and Homelander for her disappearance, and thought that they had killed her. Adding to the list of twisted things that Homelander's done, he leaked Compound V to a group of terrorists without the knowledge of Madeline. He also created a group of supervillains that he could take down to convince the government to allow superheroes in the national defense. He willingly let a plane crash and let the passengers die when he could have saved them. He was extremely possessive of Queen Maeve while they dated, and his actions made her fear him to the extent that she felt compelled to keep her relationship a secret. After he learned of it, he outed her to the media to promote an inclusive image of the Seven. He practically bullied Ashley into being his puppet, and that's probably the least dangerous thing that he's done. After he learned about Ryan, he did as he wished, instead of respecting Becca's wishes. He had not only pushed Ryan off a rooftop while teaching him how to fly, but he also did everything he could to turn him against his mother. Despite being the worst of them all, he wants to be worshipped by the public. He keeps his image clean, and he doesn't want the people to stop loving him. Number 3. Soldier Boy. From the trailer of Season 3, we know that Jensen Ackles will be joining the cast as Soldier Boy. We are yet to see if the character will be strikingly similar to their naive counterpart in the comic books, or if significant changes will be made to the character. Stan Edgar had mentioned how Soldier Boy had killed hordes of Germans in the World War back in Season 2, and there were other instances that mention his presence. In the comic books, he is a dim-witted parodied version of Captain America, and there are lots of similarities in their appearance, including their shields. Just like Steve Rogers, his abilities as a soldier were enhanced as an experiment during the war. He wasn't prone to aging. Over the years, 2 other superheroes have lived under the identity of the Soldier Boy, but Vogt branded him as a single immortal individual. The current version of Soldier Boy is so inferior to his predecessors that he pees his pants when confronted by heroes more powerful than him. He mumbles the names of the states whenever he's involved in a fight, and currently he's the leader of Payback. But he constantly gets manipulated and used by other superheroes. Just like most of the other supes, he wants to join the Seven someday, and Homelander promises him a spot in the squad in exchange for sleeping together. He is a coward as well as a people pleaser. He has killed a lot of people just to impress Homelander. Even though he was skilled in battle, he got his nose bitten off by Billy Butcher. But judging by the trailer, the character is going to be portrayed much differently on screen. The groundwork for the character will probably be based on the original Soldier Boy, and instead of having a naive new member join the team, Soldier Boy is probably going to be just as twisted and cunning as Stormfront and Homelander. What are your theories on how similar or different Soldier Boy is going to be than his comic book counterpart? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Number 4. Black Noir. Black Noir is what you get when you combine Batman and Deadpool, minus the latter's talkative nature. Is he a single person, or is he multiple people posing as one? Well, you never know, as his height and weight frequently change. He is a deadly ninja assassin who can be brought down by Almond Joy or by any other tree nut. He's the only member of the Seven who hasn't disappointed Homelander under any circumstances, and has always followed his orders. He is bulletproof and fire resistant, but his face did seem to have some burn marks when Queen Maeve uncovered his face to shove an Almond Joy down his throat. When he's not fighting bad guys or beheading soup terrorists, he spends his time stalking the boys and kidnapping those who are a threat to Vogt. He's the deadliest member of the Seven, but has shown a sensitive side on many occasions. Not much is known about his past than the fact that he trained to be a ninja. He was one of the many supes who were hurt by the secret of Compound V, as they were under the impression of being born with superpowers. He's one of the only people to have fought Kimiko and come out alive. He had left after she appeared to be dead, but she was fine, thanks to her regenerative powers. Whenever he has committed a crime, it has been either in the interest of Vought or Homelander. He kidnapped Starlight and her mother when he got to know she was rebelling against the Seven by mingling with the boys. When he went to take down Nakib, he killed almost everyone except the child. Even though most of them are terrorists, the innocence of the lady he killed was unclear. He would have killed Butcher as well if he wasn't ordered to step down. He was last seen being taken down by his tree nut allergy after Queen Maeve stepped in to save Starlight from his attack. For now, I guess we'll have to wait for him to recover and hope to see more of his piano playing skills in Season 3. Number 5. Queen Maeve. If Wonder Woman didn't grow up in Amazon and was brought up by an abusive parent who exploits their children to make money, well, she would be Queen Maeve. Despite having a rough childhood, she was full of hope and wanted to make a difference when she had first joined the Seven. But over the years, she lost herself to the system and turned a blind eye to the exploits of the other members. She even broke the rules and fabricated the truth while fighting criminals with Homelander. The two had dated for a while, and for a long time, she was the only person that he could truly trust. Initially, she was cold towards Starlight, and her advice to her would be to toughen up and not show her vulnerable side to others. As she got to know Starlight better, though, she got reminded of her younger self and the values that she stood for. For a long time, she didn't take a stand against her coworkers, thinking that she was doing it to protect the lives of the people she loved. After seeing Homelander letting the plane crash instead of saving the passengers, though, she started to reevaluate her decision. She started distancing herself from the person she loved, fearing Homelander's insecurity. She slowly began to take a stand and defend Starlight whenever she was under attack. Slowly, Queen Maeve began to evolve into an anti-villain in a world filled with anti-heroes. She hasn't done as many horrible things as the others on this list, but she did end up hurting those that were close to her. She often found herself attacking her coworkers, like Black Noir and Stormfront, to help Starlight. Most people wouldn't dare to blackmail Homelander with the video of the plane crash, but this girl does get it done. Number 6. A-Train. A-Train is basically Flash on steroids. His running through Huey's girlfriend transpired the events of the series. As if killing an innocent citizen for standing off the curb was not enough, he went ahead and killed his long-term secret girlfriend Popclaw as well. A-Train was the most insecure member of the Seven. The only way for him to continue being part of the Seven was by being the fastest man alive on the planet. But Shockwave was a threat to his position, as they had the same powers. A-Train continued to abuse Compound V to enhance his abilities on the track, but it did cause him to have severe side effects. Without his A-Train uniform, he was just a regular person who gets racially profiled while trying to shop. He did have a hard time growing up in the hood, and his struggles always got whitewashed by Vought, by a more appealing story, probably written by the marketing guys. His backstories do explain his Compound V abuse, and they're no excuse for slashing through someone's girlfriend, and even forgetting about it. He was so wrapped in his own insecurities that he didn't care about the grief that he had caused Huey. He never even gave a sincere apology, but went ahead and kidnapped his father, and tried to pin the blame for Popclaw's death on Huey. He did get kicked off the Seven by Homelander, but regained his position after helping the boys get intel on Stormfront's Nazi past. You might think that he might have become a better person after getting his ass beaten by Starlight and having that heart attack, but the only reason he helped the boys take down Stormfront was that he knew that he couldn't be a part of the team as long as she was pulling the strings. These days, he's busy dropping his rap albums and hopefully not running through people on the streets. Number 7. Lamplighter. Lamplighter's retirement paved the way for Starlight to join as his replacement in the Seven. He received his powers as a baby from the use of Compound V. As his ability is to manipulate fire as a child, he might have been similar to the baby from The Incredibles. Mallory has always held a grudge against him for crisping her grandchildren to death. Back when he was a member of the Seven, he was close to Homelander. Just like the rest of them, he liked to abuse his power and enjoyed watching others burn. As a child, he had burned down his own house, but instead of getting concerned, his father was amused by his abilities. The CIA has had their hands on Vought for a while, but when Mallory came across footage of the Lamplighter doing not-so-heroic stuff, she tried to blackmail him into spying on the Seven. He thought the only way to get out of that mess was by killing Mallory, so he went to her house to do so, unaware that it was her grandchildren who were sleeping on her bed, and he set them on fire. But by the time he realized his mistake, the children were almost dead. The guilt was probably one of the factors behind his retirement. Vought wasn't done with him yet. They drafted him at Sage Grove Mental Institution, where he quietly helped Vought burn the evidence of all the horrible things that they do, and nurse after the soups they were experimenting on. He finds an unpredictable ally in the boys after they had broken into the mental hospital and accidentally freed a psycho soup who could explode people and bend metal with her mind. The bad blood between him and the boys fades a bit after they learn of all the events that unfolded the night he burned the children. His only regret was being on the sidelines and not being the hero who swoops in to save the day, and he gets the chance to do so while Huey goes to rescue Starlight. On seeing his statue being removed by Starlight's, he gets overwhelmed, and it was his wish to die by its side. As it was no longer possible, you would think that he would reconsider the way that he wants to die. But before he can complete that thought, he incinerates himself and goes up in flames. Other than helping Vought hide evidence of their crime, he did enjoy watching adult parodies of the Seven members and compared himself to the guy who watches the action but doesn't get any of it. His appearance on the show was quite brief, but he did play a significant role in turning the tables in favor of the boys. Number 8. The Deep. The Deep is the perverted version of Aquaman. He cares more about aquatic animals than his colleagues, and other humans for that matter. He has made multiple attempts at rescuing sea creatures from supermarkets and amusement parks, but he always ends up getting them accidentally killed. Not everyone would steal a dolphin and carry it in the back of his truck without water or a seatbelt while taking it to the ocean. Only if he cared as much about women as he did about the dolphins, well, he wouldn't have been fired from the Seven because of the sexual harassment accusations that were against him. He presented himself as the second in command to Starlight and asked her for carnal favors, when in reality, dolphins took him more seriously than any of his team members. He was so unimportant that he was only called to help with crises that involved bodies of water. All Vought wanted from him was to make pretty dives at the ocean and impress the viewers on social media the way a dolphin is supposed to at a water show. He has more chemistry with the sea creatures than he does with the girl he married, request of the Church of the Collective. While he does try to pass off as an important guy with a charming persona, he is very insecure about its appearance, especially his gills. Homelander's disgust over the way that they appear hasn't really helped him with these insecurities. He has been trying really hard to get reinstated into the Seven by reforming his image, following the crazy rules of the church, but he doesn't realize that getting terrible oral jobs from his wife doesn't count as repentance after all the bad things that he's done. He is still as shallow as the time when he first met Starlight. He responded to the church based on what he thought they wanted him to say. One moment he referred to Eagle as a friend, but then changed his tune when Alistair referred to him as a toxic personality. He doesn't stand up to them or voice his own honest opinion until he finds out that only A-Train is rejoining the Seven. The Deep might not get called back to the Seven for a while now, but we know that post his dramatic exit from the church, he's going to protest against the Fresca addict until the public learns just about how and what blew his mind.
But don't you worry. Daddy's home.
Number 9. Billy Butcher. When the Soups get out of line, it's up to Billy and the rest of the boys to bring them to justice. The Soups may be more powerful than them, but it doesn't stop the boys from coming up with creative ideas to kill them, and no one knows it better than Translucent. Billy Butcher is a cynical and closed-off character who swears every time he opens his mouth. He is a former British intelligence agent who went rogue after his wife went missing, and he blamed Homelander for ruining their life. He can't stand the Soups, and despises Vought for constantly covering up their crimes. There's one thing he knows better than how to take down the Soups, and that is keeping tabs on what the Spice Girls are up to. Only a diabolical C-word like him would think of using a soup baby with laser vision as a gun to take down the enemies. He had started lurking around Huey to use him as a spy on Vought, He admired him, as he was one of the only people refusing to accept compensation from Voght to stay silent about a crime committed by one of the Supes. He saved Huey from Translucent and captured the Supe to conduct experiments on him. He brought in Frenchie and Mother's Milk to reunite in their fight against Voght. He has pissed off so many people over the years that almost no one seems happy to see him after he turns up at their doorstep. He hates Supes as much as Stormfront hates normal humans. He finds it hard to trust Kimiko and Starlight, fearing their betrayal. For a long time, he believed that Homelander had actually killed Becca, and Voght had covered it up, but that only fueled his hatred against the organization, and the will to bring it down. Homelander later revealed to him that his wife was still alive, and had given birth to Homelander's son. Voght had kept this a secret, even from Homelander. Because of his hatred towards the Supe, Billy had trouble seeing Ryan as a normal kid, and was afraid that one day he might turn out to be just like his father. He wanted to take Becca with him and leave the kid behind, but he couldn't do so, knowing just how much the child meant to his wife. If not for the word given to his wife, he probably would have thought of killing Ryan and blaming him for killing his mother. Knowing that neither he nor Homelander would be an ideal father figure for the child, he handed him over to Mallory and gave him the fatherly advice to not be a C-word. At his core, Butcher is a good guy who does a lot of bad things in the name of delivering justice. Number 10. Blarney Cock. Blarney Cock is yet to make an appearance in the TV show, and his character is just as wacky and screwed up as the other anti-heroes in the show. We don't get a lot of teenage icons who steal painkillers from children's hospitals and have a hamster living in their bunghole. Popclaw and A-Train weren't the only junkies from Teenage Kicks. Blarney is known to pop the pills as well, and his teammates share an intimate bond, quite literally. He was in an orgy with his teammates when the character was first introduced. Not everyone has the honor of getting accidentally killed by Huey when their group is in a fight with the boys. After his death, Huey took pity on the poor hamster and took him under his care. But that wasn't the end of this Blarney Cock, as he was resurrected. Usually, when people want their pet back, they don't break into someone's house, but not much courtesy can be expected from a guy who has a friend named Whackjob. As expected, this encounter didn't end well, and this time, he was killed again, but not by accident. To prevent the chances of another resurrection, his body was incinerated. Someone who keeps his pet up in his bunghole and steals drugs from sick children deserves to be called a messed up villain. Number 11. John Godolkin. If you thought Homelander is the worst, wait till you hear about this guy. His character hasn't even appeared on the show yet, but the readers of the comic know just how vile he is. He has a lot of similarities with Professor X, including a house called G-Men Mansion, but his intentions aren't to help the children in need. While Homelander saw his lover as a mother figure, John is quite the opposite. He seeks a similar kind of relationship with the kids that he abducts over the years. He would refer to them as his children, and there was nothing fatherly about the way that he treated them. He knew they wouldn't be loyal to him out of love, so he controlled them with fear. It wasn't easy for his children to escape from the hellhole or expose his exploits, as they resulted in a painful death and resurrection. He would target runaway kids and orphans and bring them into the G-Mansion, but it wasn't the reason that got him killed. Stillwell and Godolkin had different opinions about building a new pre-Wiz. Since he had now become a threat to the business, Stillwell ordered Vote American to kill him, as well as the G-Men. There's nothing sad about the death of someone like John Godolkin, but the G-Men definitely deserved a better life than the one they had under his wings. If he wasn't put down, he definitely would have continued to abduct children, inject them with Compound V, and exploit them for his needs. He also would have continued to send G-Men after the boys, until all of them were killed. Number 12. Kenji Miyashiro. When the footage of a Supe terrorist flipping over a boat reaches the boys, Kimiko recognizes the culprit. Kimiko and Kenji had no other option but to join the Shining Light Liberation Army, even if they didn't agree with their ideals. Seeing their parents get killed was too much for Kimiko to bear, and since then, she never uttered a word. Surrounded by the people who made their lives unbearable, the siblings began to look after one another and came up with a secret sign language. Kimiko had managed to escape them after reaching the USA, but her brother was left behind. After spotting him on the video, Kimiko reached out and reunited with him. The siblings had a lot to catch up on, and it looked like a happy reunion scene until Kimiko realized that her brother had been turned, and he had started to believe in the mission of the Shining Light Liberation Army. Kimiko wasn't happy to know that her brother had turned into a terrorist, and to prevent him from continuing on that path, she lets the boys capture him. Both of the siblings had been injected with Compound V by the army and trained to become super soldiers. We all know that Kimiko is nearly impossible to defeat in a battle, and her brother was no exception. He also had telekinetic powers that helped him manipulate matter. While being held captive at Mallory's, he used his powers to use a can of energy drink to set himself free. Don't you hate it when you take a boat for a ride, but the police arrive in a helicopter and put you under arrest for using a stolen boat? Kenji thought of using this opportunity to attack Butcher, but what are siblings for if they don't stop you from attacking a diabolical maniac, crashing a helicopter underwater? Speaking of water, the Deep appears with his aquatic friends and chase the boys into one of his whale friends. The Seven arrive to fight the soup terrorist, and the criminals spotted with him. Kenji attacked Homelander to save Huey from getting killed and tried to escape once again. It's nearly impossible to run away when members of the Seven, including your own soup sister, are chasing after you. But he halts and goes back to save his sister from Stormfront. The former Nazi already harbored hatred against the two for not belonging to the superior Aryan race, and took the opportunity to kill Kenji in front of his sister. As Kimiko's brother, he was an endearing character, but as a soldier for the Shining Light Liberation Army, he has killed quite a lot of people. We have reached the end of today's video, but let us know in the comments about which characters from the TV series, or even the comics, that you would like to add to this list. If you enjoyed our video today, don't forget to send a like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. For marvelous videos, I'm Rylan. Have a good one, be safe, and thanks for watching.